everybody, it's Heather from Handcrafted by Hev. Today I'm going to be colouring in this image. It's a new image from Imala that's just been launched today on Create and Craft, and this one is called This Is Me. She's a beautiful tall image and is perfect for use on your DL cards. I'm going to colour her in using some of the brand new Gossip markers from Stamps by Me. I'm going to be using 4 different shades of red. I've written them down here for you, and these all come from the red collection. It's a set of 6 pens, and they're available from Stamps by Me at the moment. So I'm using R1, R4, R10 and R12. I'll also be using from the Scenic set of 12, which are these, the beautiful subtle colours for the skin, and I'm going to use YR25 and YR27, and again I've written these down here, although the YR27 is a bit difficult to read because it's so pale. And then finally for her hair, from the Nature collection, I'm going to use BR97 just to give her a little bit of colour to her hair. So I'm going to start off by doing her skin first. I'm going to start off with the slightly darker colour because that's where I want to have some shading. I'll just show you the different nibs on the pens. You get a beautiful brush nib. And these nibs are photopolymer rubber nibs. That they are the best nibs on the market. They are stunning. So you've got a brush nib at one end and a bullet nib at the other. It shows you on the barrel of the marker which end is which, and both ends you've got a lovely rubber grip to help you hold your pen. They're nice and chunky but not too big so that they're uncomfortable to hold, but they don't slip around in your hand because of the rubber grip. So I'm going to make a start, and I'm going to start by doing her skin, and I'm using the slightly darker YR25, which is called Salmon Pink, just to add a little bit of shading to her skin where I think there'll be darker shadows. Highlight her cleavage a little bit with her shoulder blades. Sorry, it's not a shoulder blades, it's a collarbone. Just a little bit on her arms. And then a little bit on her legs too. I'm just using light flicking motions. And if you notice on her leg, it's very vague as to where the line will be. So I'm just going to have a little guess and put where I think the shading is. And then going to take the lighter shade, the YR27, which is powder pink, and again using the brush end, I'm going to go over the top of the colour I've already done, and that helps to blend it in, and then just fill in the remainder of her skin. You don't want it to be pure white, it wouldn't look very natural. And again I'm just using little flicking motions, just taking my time, making sure I go over the first colour to help blend it. They are fantastic, these pens. They blend absolutely beautifully. It's top quality ink as well as the top quality nibs. And we'll just do her leg. And again going over the top of the first colour to help blend it in. All the way down to her shoe. And finally on the second leg. Down to her shoe. I think that will do for her skin. Just make sure they're blended. That's perfect. They do carry on blending a little bit after you've finished colouring, to be fair. So now I'm going to start on her dress, and I'm going to use the darkest of the 4 reds first, where I think the darkest shadows will be. So that will be just down here, and you can tell from the lines on the stamp where you think the shading's going to be. Give her a little bit of shading here, and then down onto the skirt. And I'm going to show you a little trick how to put a crease in where there isn't one drawn on the actual stamp, just so you can add a bit more definition and make it look a bit more realistic. Just going to put the darkest one under there as well, because obviously that'll be in shadow. And a little bit there and a little bit there. And then in here I want to add in an extra crease that isn't actually in the stamp, and I'm just going to do a very thin V of this darkest colour. And just lay that down, and when that's blended in, that will look like there is a crease there in her dress. I might actually put a little one in here as well, make her dress look a little bit more fluid, as if it's got more movement. And you can actually do them going down as well. Same thing, just add in a little V. Like that. So then take your next colour, which in my case is the R4, and just go over that again to add a little bit of contrast and start to blend in that darker colour. And I'm hardly touching the paper. The ink just flows so beautifully out of these pens. And I can be a little bit heavy-handed when I'm colouring, so I am making a conscious effort to try not to press on too hard. So I am just doing very light motions, flicking motions, sorry, going over the first darker colour to blend that in a little bit. And I know it looks a little bit patchy at the moment, but by the time you've finished and you've blended everything in, it will look lovely. The colours do evaporate, the alcohol from the ink does evaporate and leaves a slightly lighter shade when the ink is dry. I'm just going to keep going with little flicking motions, making sure you blend in the first colour you laid down. Going over the top so that it blends, but extending out a little bit further with your next colour. You can start adding in a little bit more definition on some of the other lines while you're doing this. Just to start to give her skirt a little bit more shape. Oh, sorry, hope I'm still in shot there. Underneath my piece of cardstock that I'm colouring on, I've just got copy paper, because the alcohol markers do bleed through. I'll just show you. They do bleed through, so to protect your work surface and to help the ink go through the paper, through your cardstock, if you have some paper underneath, it helps. I'm actually using a Nina cardstock. It's one of the better ones for using alcohol markers, colouring with alcohol markers. You need a smooth cardstock, so if you've got some of that in your stash, you should be able to get going. And I stamped the image in Memento ink to make sure the ink wouldn't bleed when I started to colour with the alcohol pens. So I'm just adding in this second colour where I think I need it, going over the top of the first colour that I laid down. So now I'm going to go on to the next colour, which is R10, which is deep red. And again, I'm just going to go over and add a little bit more definition where the shaded areas are. I always go over the first colours I've done, because that helps them to blend better, in my opinion. I'm not an expert colourist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do enjoy the process. I find it very therapeutic, very relaxing to colour in. I don't know if you can see yet that where I started with the dark colour to put in a new crease in the dress, it's now starting to give that impression of a fold in the fabric without there being any lines on the stamp to indicate that. And I know a lot of colourists take a lot longer than I do, but I'm quite a busy lady. I have a lot of things on in my life, so I tend to be a little bit quicker. I don't think there's a right or wrong way, you just need to find the way that works best for you. But I tend to go a little bit quicker than some, but I'm usually happy with the result that I get. Although I do believe, well, I know from experience that if you can take your time, you can get some really amazing effects. So now, sorry, I've got the lightest colour, coral red, and I'm going to just carry on going over everywhere, all the colours I've already done, so that they all blend, and just fill in any gaps to fully finish off colouring in her skirt. And then at the end I will have a look and see if I think I need to add any more shading anywhere else. And I'm just stroking the colour on. I'm using a mixture of small flicks and larger strokey flicks just to fully colour the image. I always go over the other colours that I've already done, because it helps to give you a more seamless blend, a smoother finish. You don't see the fully finished effect until all the alcohol is evaporated and dried off. There you go. A very quick tutorial to show you how I colour my dresses in on my ladies, and how I add creases where there hasn't been one drawn by the artist who drew the stamp. I hope you find that useful. Oh, I've not finished her. I do apologise, I've not done her hair or her bow. I'm going to use the mid-range R10 to do the bow. I'm not going to do any actual blending, and because it's a small area, I'm going to use the smaller bullet nib on my pen just to do the bow in her hair. And then I will give her some hair too. I'm just going to very lightly with the brush nib flick down and just give her a little bit of hair down onto her forehead, and I will finish it off by blending that back in again with the lighter colour from the two skin tones that I used. which is the YR27, just so that it's not a harsh line. I think I'll just bring her hair down a little bit further there, closer to her ear, give it a little bit more shape. That looks more realistic, I think. And again, just give it a quick blend, just to get rid of any harsh lines. There you go, one finished image. The other thing you can do is go around the entire image with a very pale blue or a very pale grey, and that will help the image to pop off the page. I'm just going to actually give her some red shoes as well to go with her beautiful red dress. And again, because it's just a small area and I'm doing it quickly, I'm just going to use the bullet nib. There you go, one finished image. I hope you found that useful, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you, bye bye.